Anatomy of the big size of manhood, Bola, as it is popularly called in our today's contemporary Nigerian society. I have noticed that almost 98% of Africans on social media who talk about conjugal satisfaction in bed are the women folks, and they always talk about an enlarged size of the penis. What baffles me is how such large percentage of people who talk about the large size of penis are the women folk themselves. Could the size really be a problem? I'm Dr. Imo Enatakwa. On this talk show called I Have a Concern on Contemporary Issues of Life. Well, it is my desire to talk about our culture, intimacy, and values. The question that readily comes to mind is, should we be concerned about the anatomy of the bola or talk about healthy conversation in our marriages? For me as a person, we should rather talk about what is shaping our conversations about intimacy and where God is in all of this. And so I would like to say that in the modern society, much of what you hear may not really be the case. Why is the modern society so much concerned about the size of man's penis? What is the cause of the drive for size instead of intimacy? Does size really matter? This is an important question that touches on both cultural anxieties and spiritual foundation. Let me address this thoughtfully in two parts. Part one, does physical size matter in marriage? Well, from a clinical, psychological, and relational perspective, the answer is generally not in the way culture often suggests. Sexual satisfaction is multifaceted. Research consistently show that for the vast majority of people, penis size is not a primary factor in sexual satisfaction. A large percentage of women have come to realize that penis size is not the actual factor in sexual satisfaction. So, why the much talk? Well, factors like emotional connection, communication, mutual respect, foreplay, techniques, and overall intimacy are far more significant than the size. Many talk shows that average is normal. There are many that we have listened to who believe or who claim or who say that the average is normal size, not the type that people are projecting. Overwhelming majority of men fall within the very average range because most of the enlarged sizes that you are seeing are things that porn stars have come to generate. Most, I said, not all. Now, anxiety about size is often fueled by pornography and cultural myths, not by what is actually fulfilling in a long term loving relationship. Next, I want to mention that it is not what the porn stars, you know, play out. Now, what they're actually playing out in the long run shows that there are potential harm in all of that. Overemphasis on these single physical attributes can create unnecessary insecurity for a husband and distract him from the shared journey of discovering mutual pleasure, which is unique to every couple. In marriage, Sexual intimacy is about connection, not measurements. In summary, while physical compatibility is one aspect of a sexual relationship, reducing it to a single anatomical measurement is misleading, very misleading, and harmful to the union. Incidentally, pornography has driven the society to crave for some unimaginable cravings. In my opinion, the quality of the emotional and communicative bond is the true determinants of a fulfilled sexual relationship within marriage. Looking at part two of it, what should women focus on in marriage scripturally? Now, the scripture shifts the focus and the attention from physical attributes to character, covenant. In a marriage relationship, it is expected that love overshadows all of this. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. That's what love does. Two, mutual submission and respect can be seen in the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 21 down to 33, which outlines a dynamic nature of mutual submission. You are to submit one to another out of reverence for Christ, just as the church is to Christ. It calls husband to be sacrificial, as Christ also sacrificed his life for the church. The focus is on creating a partnership where both feel valued and honored. Well, as can be seen in the Old Testament, women were expected to, remain as virgins till marriage. So, where could one be imagining big size? Society should be concerned about building character, not critiquing anatomy. The Bible consistently directs focus to the development of inner character. A wife of noble character, so says the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, emphasizes strength, wisdom, kindness, diligence, and fear of the Lord, not physical appearance. The inner self, as can be seen in First Peter chapter number 3, verse 3 down to 4, advises that beauty should not come from outward adornment alone, but from the unfailing beauty of the gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's holy sight. So, for this reason, I would like to say that love is clearly they are defined by action. Biblical love, that is agape, is selfless, it is patient, it is kind and forgiving. That can be seen, as we have already said, in First Corinthians chapter number 13. It focuses on how to love, not on what one is receiving. This applies equally to both spouses. Let's talk about spiritual unity and partnership. The primary purpose of marriage is to reflect Christ's relationship with the church and to the spiritual team. Couples are to pray together, encourage each other's faith, and be heirs together of the grace of God, the grace that life of God has given. This can be seen in First Peter chapter 3 and verse number 7. So, in this instance, as couples, you are to focus on your own role, not your spouse's performance. Scripture often directs individuals to examine their own contributions to the relationship, according to Matthew chapter 7, verse 3 down to verse number 5. A wife is encouraged to focus on embodying love, respect, and wisdom while trusting God to work in her husband's heart, just as he is called to do for her. Now, let us bring what I have said together. What I have been trying to point out is that a scriptural view of marriage intentionally redirects the focus from transient physical attributes to an enduring spiritual character, which is the foundation. It teaches that a thriving marriage is built on covenant faithfulness over personal satisfaction, sacrificial love and mutual respect over performance or critics, the cultivation of inner character over external comparisons, spiritual partnership as the core of the union is what God expects. Therefore, in marriage, grounded in these principles, a physical attribute like size becomes irrelevant compared to the profound journey of two people becoming one flesh, emotionally, spiritually, and intimately. Through a lifelong of commitment, love, grace, and mutual service. It is expected that as a husband, you should live with your wife with wisdom. As a woman, you should live with your husband, applying also knowledge. Now, physical attributes should not be overplayed. It is true that in marriage, there ought to be enjoyment of the conjugal rights. However, if you are not overwhelmed by the society, by what porn stars begin to bring out, then you will be satisfied with what God has provided for you. My problem here is that the vast majority of the people that advertise this bola of a thing, big size of manhood, are the women folk. What do they want from the men? Please answer this till I come your way again.